So I'm Stephen Foskett, organizer of the Tech Field Day events. And in 2009, we decided that we would try a new idea, which was Tech Field Day. In 2015, we added to Tech Field Day the idea of sometimes doing presentations by the delegates to the delegates. And we called them Ignite Talks. And my talk at the very first Ignite session was titled 9 Business Lessons I Learned from Baseball. And now that it's 9 years later, I thought it would be fun to revisit those business lessons from baseball. So here I am. I'm going to talk 9 more business lessons I learned from baseball. So first off, though, here's me 9 years ago standing in front of Tech Field Day. I think I'm actually wearing the same shirt today as I was back then. But let me revisit the 9 lessons from last time. So first off, you got to adjust to the ground rules because everywhere you play is a little bit different. You got to wait for your pitch. You know, you can't just run off half-cocked. You've got to wait until the right thing happens. Superstars are fun to watch, but it takes a team to win. This is absolutely true in baseball. It's not true in all sports, but it is definitely true in baseball. Superstars are completely overrated. You got to roll with the bad calls. Sometimes the umpire calls you out, and you know what? That's just how it is, and you got to keep moving. Follow through. If you don't do what you say you're going to do, there's a penalty. It's going to come down on your head. You have to adjust as the game progresses. You have to adjust as everything happens and roll with it. That's where the whole game is. Everything that happens can change in a moment with a moment's notice. You can find yourself going from losing to winning, or unfortunately, from winning to losing. It's a long season, 162 games of baseball to get to the playoffs, and then a whole bunch more, hopefully, if you make it. And you have to give it time. You have to let things happen. And finally, even the best people strike out sometimes, and you got to deal with that. And frankly, this was a pretty optimistic presentation. The one that I'm going to do now is maybe less optimistic. I've got more gray hair. I got more water under the bridge. So let's get to it. Let's look at 9 more lessons. So first off, one of the things I've learned over the last few years, it pays to work the refs. Sometimes you would think it wouldn't. I think one of the things that people who don't know baseball very much, they're wondering, why is that guy arguing balls and strikes? He can't argue balls and strikes. Or why did the manager come out and just scream at this guy and get thrown out? What is the point of that? Well, I'll tell you what the point of that is. Next time there's a judgment call, that call's going to be a little different than it was last time. The refs, they absolutely will give things back in every sport and in life too. You've got to stand up for yourself. You've got to accept that you lost this one, but you've got to make it clear that you're going to win the next one. And sometimes you do. Next thing, you can buy your way to the top. I probably wouldn't have said this 9 years ago, but it's true. You absolutely can buy your way to the top. Witness, the 2024 World Series, which is basically 2 all-star teams playing against each other with 3 times the salary cap of most of the rest of the league. And, you see this in life, too. You see this in business. You see companies that have more money than sense throwing money around. And you know what? It pains me to say it, but a lot of the time those companies are actually successful because they've got the money to throw around to make themselves that way. But you know what? Money doesn't always solve everything. Sometimes you find out that just buying your way to the top is a fickle business. Many of the top teams in baseball have learned this. They'll buy high and ended up having to sell low. This was actually a photo I took in 2011 of one Mr. Josh Beckett, who was never that good again after that season, and some beer and some chicken during a game. Management, though, and I think this is, again, maybe a more cynical thing that I would have said 9 years ago, management is always chasing trends. And this is absolutely painfully true in sports, no matter what sport it is. The owners, the managers, they're always saying, well, that worked for those guys, so now we're going to try it, right? Somehow Oakland was really good, even though they didn't spend the money, they didn't buy their way to the top. So we're going to do what they did. Well, guess what happens? That doesn't work anymore because now everybody's doing that thing, whether it's bullpen games or, I don't know, cloud repatriation. Another thing I've learned, though, is attitude is incredibly important. If you wonder why sometimes these incredibly high payroll teams packed with stars just completely fizzle out, I don't know, like the Yankees for the last couple of decades, why don't they succeed better? Because they're just terrible. They don't want to be there. They don't want to play. They don't want to do the thing. And you see this in business many, many times too. I mean, how often have you seen it where a company thinks that they can just buy all the talent, buy all the technology, and then we're automatically going to win? Well, if those people don't want to go to work every day, and if those people don't want to sell, and if they don't believe in what they're selling, and they don't believe in what they're doing every day, well, it's not going to work, and no amount of money is going to fix that. Another thing I've learned over the years is people talk about the wisdom of the crowds. Well, the crowds aren't actually that wise, and I'm including myself here. I certainly would not include Andy Banta as somebody who's not wise, but I find myself continually making the stupidest sideline calls and saying, you know, this is what they should do. This is not, well, you know what? I'm wrong. And you see this again and again, basically at every sport, I don't know, in politics, in business, everybody. So it's not just management that's following trends. Everybody's following trends. And a lot of the time, they are completely wrong. And that becomes painfully obvious just a few minutes or days or months or maybe years later, that maybe it's not worth asking them what they want, because if I asked them what they wanted, they would have said they wanted a faster horse, right? Another thing that people often do wrong is they think that past success shows future success. They think that something with a great track record is just a guaranteed winner. You see this in Wall Street all the time. You see this with especially amateur investors. You know, they'll look in the rearview mirror. Well, driving by looking in the rearview mirror doesn't really work very well. It may work for a little while, but it ain't going to work very long. There again, this guy never had that good of a season again. Happily, he was on the Yankees payroll by that point. And finally, I'll leave you with this. It takes a lot of losses before you're going to win. This is definitely true in any kind of a winner-take-all situation, like most sports, but it's also true in life. You can't let the losses get to you. You can't let your failures get to you. You can't get eaten up by it. You know, everybody's going to miss sometimes. A lot of people are going to miss a lot of the time. But eventually, you know, you got the right attitude, you got the right players, you got the right approach, eventually you're going to win. And so this is 9 more lessons from baseball that I've taken into business. And this one I think is the most important one. Don't take yourself too seriously. At the end of the day, the goofy mascots and the hot dog race and take me out to the ball game, well, that's a lot of fun. And frankly, that's a lot of the reason that we're here. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't know I don't know what I'd be doing right now, but I certainly wouldn't be standing in a hotel ballroom in Santa Clara. It's supposed to be about fun. It's supposed to be about something that you enjoy. And the truth is that I have enjoyed every minute of running Tech Field Day and Gestalt IT, of shivering in the data center late one night to fix the problem that I got called in on. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy fixing when the automation breaks, or that I didn't enjoy learning something new about technology. It's a game. It's my game. And hopefully, whatever your career is, whatever your job is, hopefully you can look at it and say, you know, that's a game that I like too.